Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mike and Bradley sports scene. Of course, it's August, of course, and of course, you know what that means. School is back in session, and Labor Day is coming out, which will be this weekend, next Monday, as a matter of fact. And of course, that means, of course, sports, football, baseball, you name it. It's going to be happening. It's going to be popping off with college football coming to the full front this weekend, and high school football just starting the second week in the season. And of course, we're going to start with the high school scene. And first off, we want to mention Gary Rankin. Gary Rankin, of course, has done something that not many college football coaches have done. He has won 500 games, and he won that Friday night when he had his head coach at Boyd Buchanan against the school in Maryland. Congratulations to Coach Rankin. He won state championships at Murfreesboro, at Riverdale, and at Alcoa. He has not won any at Boyd Buchanan, but it's just a matter of time.
It's coming.
Yeah. And I would, of course, he came down here to Bledsoe County some years ago, and he was a class act, real gentleman. Of course, they beat the tar out of us, but other than that,
right.
But really, to be understand that the man is one of those class acts and 500 wins. Well, he's in the Tennessee High School Football Hall of Fame, and he's in the National High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame as well. So
when you think of legendary coaches around this area, my generation would recognize John Mullinax from McMinn County, and.
Right.
And you can't mention legendary coaches without mentioning Gary Rankin. What he's done and the places that he's been is just it's unmatched. It's just ridiculous how he can build a program and put the people in the right places. So hats off to him. 500 wins is huge.
72 years old, and he shows no signs of quitting. And of course, he rates up with the former Tiger head coach and also with Colquitt at Marion County, Grundy County, and Sequatchie County, among others. And of course, congratulations to him. But we're going to get back to the business here, which is Bledsoe County football. Last Friday night, Bledsoe County traveled to Dunlap. First off, we apologize we weren't able to bring you the game because of technical difficulties. We're hoping to have that solved by this Friday for the Whitwell game this Friday night. But unfortunately for Bledsoe County, they played well for a half, tied 7-7, and people thought maybe there was a chance Bledsoe County could pull off the upset. But unfortunately, the number 2 ranked Indians went 19-0 in the second half to win 26-7 over the 9th ranked Bledsoe County Warriors. Now, Sequatchie County is still number 2 in Class 3A. Mm-hmm. Bledsoe's dropped to 11th in Class 2A. So really, there's a lot of season left to be played, and of course, we're coming up here. You may both watch the game. What did you think, Bradley?
Well, I mean, you look at the game and how it was played. The first half, like you said, we went into halftime 7-7 with the top 5 team in 3A. Bledsoe County, a 2A school going toe-to-toe with a potential powerhouse in 3A this year. And take away the big plays and the mistakes, and it's probably 7-0 if you really look at it, because Dunlap scored their first touchdown on a 68-yard pass. So that was a big gain. A couple missed tackles that allowed them to do that. Then Bledsoe, of course, scored on a 62-yard interception return, made it 7-7. But the next time Dunlap scored, it was a 53-yard pass. There's another big chunk of yards. Yeah. And then, of course, finally they hit the 61-yard fumble recovery, which they argue that it could have been a forward pass, but
it was ruled a lateral.
It was ruled a lateral. It's very close, and unfortunately, in high school, you don't have instant replay, and I really don't know that it would have got overturned, even if you did. There were some calls that might have went different had they been playing at Pikeville, but that is the nature of the game. I mean, and Sequatchie County again scored on a 35-yard run, so they scored on big plays. It's not like they had a long drawn-out drive and wore us down and controlled the field. No, they actually got the breaks, and hats off to them. I mean, that's you can't do anything about that. But all in all, I think Bledsoe County played very well. I'm very pleased with our defense. Even though the score was 26-7, I'm very pleased with the defense and how they, at least on the front 4 or 5 as far as the line is concerned, played exceptionally well. A lot of younger guys out there subbing in and out, and they played exceptionally well. We got some work to do on the offensive line, but I saw a lot of promise Friday night, and I mean, even with a young lineman, had 34 carries, 76 yards. That's not that bad, especially when you're going up against a 3A defense.
Right.
And Sequatchie County had them outweighed probably 50 pounds across the board on the front. So, and we had 3 freshmen going in and out on the offensive line. So that is huge for our team to get that foot in the door kind of thought with getting their feet wet with a big game against our arch rival. And Bledsoe County, I think, is going to be okay. I mean, as far as the rest of the season is concerned, you look at all the games they play, they're favored in every game except 2 more. And the York game is about 50-50. Marion County is favored over them. But everybody else, Bledsoe is overwhelmingly favored percentage-wise in the rest of the games that they play. So it's not impossible for Bledsoe to go 8-2. It's not impossible for Bledsoe to go 9-1 and upset Marion. Anything can happen, but I think 8-2 might be a better estimate, a guesstimate, you might say. But Bledsoe's got a good team, and I think as the season progresses, I think Coach Tabor and company will have a better idea of where to put who, and I think it's going to work out fine.
Of course, Bledsoe County plays Whitwell Friday night, and Whitwell unfortunately lost to Huntland, which was going to be one of our opponents too late in the season. I think it'll be the last game of the year. But Whitwell lost pretty badly to Huntland. Is both 1A powers going at each other. Whitwell, of course, has not won over Bledsoe County since their state championship game in 2018.
Yeah, well, the only winners in our class, Region 3 2A, was Marion County and Grundy.
Yeah.
And if you look back at that halftime, it was just 14-3 over Brainerd. So Marion had little issues getting things together to start with, because Brainerd is not. I mean, they try, but they're not a very good quality team, and Marion kind of had to put forth a lot of effort to get those 14 points. And Grundy County, of course, had an effortless win over Red Bowling Springs, 44-0. But Monterey lost to Cannon County. York lost to Stone Memorial, 28-6.
York was really outclassed in that game, from what I was hearing from some people I know who attend Stone Memorial.
Yeah.
York came in, I think, with a little bit of a hangover from last year's loss to Marion County in the semifinal rounds of the playoffs, and really, to be understood right now, is that they got to come to Pikeville and play pretty hard. But Whitwell Tigers, well, they're 0-1. They want to get back on the winning track, but I think, really honest with you, Bledsoe County's just got a little more meat on the bones than Whitwell does.
I think so. The roster size, I mean, Bledsoe has a small roster compared to others, but they are a 2A team, so we do have a little bit more manpower in regards to that than Whitwell and say Huntland and all those teams. We're going to have we're going to have our hands full. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not like we can go in there and expect it to be a cakewalk. Whitwell's going to come and try to get that W, especially on our own field. That's going to be a little motivation for them. So we look for them to really play hard, and Bledsoe gets a chance to kind of lick their wounds and get back into it and kind of exert some dominance, to get their confidence back as they play a pretty decent 1A Whitwell team Friday night.
Well, of course, our quarterback, hasn't had much experience. Of course, last Friday night he did have some pretty good throws. He threw a pretty good one a pretty good spiral, but unfortunately the receiver dropped it. But it was a pretty good spiral from what I was looking at. I was looking straight at it. So basically, is that
you're looking at a first-year starter, sophomore, basically taking the helm, going through summer practice, spring practice, and getting to here, and going 7 for 18, 44 yards with 3 interceptions. Now, factor in that, again, sophomore, first-year starter, in arguably the biggest game of the year, playing your arch rival. So naturally, the jitters are going to be there. So he's going to have to settle in, and he will. I think he'll do fine once he gets into a rhythm. It might do him well. They tried to do this a little bit last Friday night. They threw a few short passes to try to get his confidence built up, and that may be what they do to Whitwell, keep it kind of within 20-25 yards so that he can just, pop them right and left, spread the field, get some confidence and timing down, and then start going deep. But there was a couple of those balls that he did throw deep that had some pretty good touch on it.
Yeah.
And they just they were either batted away or not able to pull them down. But you know, for example, the catch with Dallas Bridges.
Yeah.
That if it had been in Pikeville, would have been rolled a catch. It was rolled and incomplete.
Yeah.
And whether you argue that he caught it or argue that he trapped it, regardless of the fact, he put the ball where it needed to be. The defenders couldn't get it. Dallas got it. And like I said, if it had been in Pikeville, it would have been a completion, first down, and kept the drive going. But hey, that's just football, and he's going to grow. Luke Morris is going to grow and be a leader. I believe that he will. I know that young man fairly well, and I know that his dad's not going to let up on him, so he's going to have to grow up quick.
Yeah, he will have to do that. But you know, the thing about it is that we need to get the run game going. We didn't have much success with that, but Sequatchie County didn't have much success in the run game either. They did do some from long plays, but they really didn't score as much on their feet as through the pass. And I think that tells you what Bledsoe's defense was capable of, stopping that run.
Well, you take away the 35-yard run there at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all in all, Bledsoe County allowed 137 yards on the ground, and that's not that bad considering that, you know, we gained 76, but you take away that big run, you know, you're looking right at 100 yards, 102 yards, and that's not bad for an inexperienced line.
It's not.
And Dunlap, I mean, they're a pretty good team, but they struggle to move the ball sometimes.
Yeah.
They went a few 3 and out and made some mistakes. I mean, again, first game of the season, but the big thing for me in the game last Friday night was Stonewall Farmer. Not only did he return the interception, 62 yards to the house on a pick six, but he had 1 tackle for loss and 14 tackles on the night in one game. That's
a pretty good. That's a record-setting night for him.
Stonewall Jackson is a headhunter. Stonewall Jackson. Stonewall Farmer.
I'm thinking you're thinking of the wrong. I think you're thinking about the wrong era.
Stonewall Farmer is a headhunter out there, and he is going to make waves this year on the defensive side of the ball. He's going to be a leader, and he's already shown that. He was in on. I don't have how many assists that he had, but 14 solo tackles, 1 for loss, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown. That's huge. That's huge for a young man, especially in a game like Sequatchie County.
Stonewall Jackson, as I recall, was died after being shot by his men.
You are right.
And died of pneumonia as a result of it. So but like I said, that's a different era, and we're not going to go into the Civil War too much at this point. But anyway, Bledsoe County and Whitwell Friday night from James T. Warden Field. That'll be the home opener. And, of course, we'll bring the broadcast to you, hopefully live. If not, we'll probably most likely record it. But we're going to alter ways to get around the problem. We had some problems here at the station, so we weren't able to give you the Sequatchie County broadcast, to our deep regret. And obviously, but it was an interesting game. The weather was not too bad, not too hot, and I mean, it was just good, perfect game. The artificial turf, gave Sequatchie and Bledsoe County some moments because they were wet. And that's what happens when artificial turf gets wet. You just don't have a lot of traction.
I thought it was going to get nasty because by the time that I got to Utenville, it started sprinkling. By the time I got to Walmart, it was pouring. And it poured all the way through Dunlap, all the way to the school. And I thought, man, it's going to be a rough night. Mm-hmm. Because I was sitting here thinking, there's not an air conditioner in that visitor press box, and it's going to be hot and muggy. And
you arrived just as it.
But then we got there and it had stopped, and I was like, okay, the concrete.
Yeah, it was coming down before you got there, so it moved into Dunlap. So basically, you caught the tail end of that. But to be honest with you, high school football, still being here, I just wish we could get Coach Tabor to schedule a game with that new high school in Georgia, that new.
Oh yeah.
I think I would have loved to broadcast from that.
One thing we think about, Mike, too, is the strength of schedule kind of factors in.
Yeah.
Out of Region 3 2A, as far as records and statistics go, York has the toughest schedule.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they've scheduled teams like Meigs County, White County, Livingston, DeKalb, Upperman, those are our bigger schools, so naturally they're going to have a higher ranking as far as the strength of schedule. Next to them in our region, it'll be us. Because the people that we play, I mean, depending on the poll that you look at, as far as Max Preps and how it handles and how it figures out all of its rankings, Marion County is ranked 5th in that poll. York is 6th. Bledsoe is 16th. But as far as the Writers Association, Marion County is number 1 in Class 2A. And Huntland is also, I remember we mentioned them a second ago, they're number 10 in 1A in the state. So we play some pretty good teams. Oneida narrowly missing, the top 15. Then you have, Tellico and Polk. They're decent teams. We play some pretty tough opponents this season, and I think Bledsoe's going to have their hands full as the season goes on with Marion County, but they should do well in the other games they play. York will be a good game too.
Of course, we're going to have back-to-back road games against Oneida and Tellico, and that's going to be interesting in a couple of home games here. Now, I hope to God that we do not have a 2-hour halftime activity course at Tellico like we did a few years ago, because my guy, I know you find this hard to believe, Bradley, but I was actually starting to run out of things to say.
Well, the good news is we play Tellico is game 4, so hopefully they won't have a homecoming that early in the season, because maybe it's one of the last 6 games. We hope. But if I get over there and I see girls in frilly dresses and people in tuxedos fixing to walk them out, when halftime starts, you're on your own. I am going to the car. I am going to the truck, and I am going to take a nap.
You are not leaving me there. You're not leaving me alone. You're going to be sitting here because I'm going to have the Tellico Plains Police make sure that you stay there.
It was real nice. Don't get me wrong. I mean, a few years ago, it was a nice ceremony. You had those, those from homecoming queens from years past, and that was really neat to honor them. But 2.5 hours of a halftime show was a bit much for a high school football game.
I thought
do that before or do that after.
I thought maybe that we would be there till Sunday morning the way it was going like that, and I was thinking I
didn't get home till Sunday morning.
I'll tell you something right there, and of course we have Marion County and Grundy County, and then Huntland, and then Monterey. Monterey doesn't seem to be as strong as they used to be.
They're not, but you remember last time we played them at Monterey, things got a little chippy. And one thing about it, the coaches try to say they forget stuff like that, but there are players on that team that was there that night on that field, on both teams. So players tend to not forget those things. Yeah. And again, if it gets down to that last game of the season, October 30th, and we're playing for playoff seeding, and maybe if Monterey's struggling, not going to make the playoffs, I don't know. Again, it's very early. Who's to say they won't try something to get one of our guys, to miss a week? So, I mean, you got to watch things like that. I mean, and you hope they wouldn't deliberately do that, but I'm just saying that if history repeats itself, Monterey's going to be a tough game, and it's going to be one of those nail-biters, and it's might get chippy out there.
It could also be like Wartburg a couple of years back here at Pikeville, where they were literally fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah, Wartburg self-imploded that year.
Yeah, it wasn't because Bledsoe was the better team. It was because that Wartburg had a tendency to self-destruct, and I really sort of felt sorry for the fans to see their players act that way, and the coaches probably. If I was the head coach at Wartburg, I would have said, "Okay, this is how you're going to do this. We're gonna go home. We're gonna forfeit the game to Bledsoe County, and it'll serve you right." And that's what I would have done. But I'm not the coaches, and they came out.
They were fighting in the locker room at halftime and had call security out there. That frustration leads to some crazy things.
Because they were leaving that field at halftime, I noticed that they were actually restraining the players to keep from going after the Bledsoe players and so on and so forth. Okay, everybody, we're going to go to a break in the action here, and then when we come back, we'll have the college football, as it is going to be the opening weekend of the full college football season, as you're all watching the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18 and WAT AM 10, Pikeville, Tennessee.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
A good bank has people you can depend on, people who grew up here and can handle today's issues and growing technology. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, this is the way we've served the community for almost 50 years. Ready to help you in person, online, and on our app whenever you need it. Choose the bank that cares about you. Citizens Tri-County Bank, the only community bank you'll ever need.
Support small business and shop DunlapMercantile.com.
Okay, everybody, we're back here, and of course we're now going to talk about college football. And of course, it's the first full season of the college football season on hand here. Of course, they did play some games last week. Most notable was Kansas State and Iowa State in Dublin, Ireland. Iowa State must have kissed the Blarney Stone because they won over Kansas State. And if you don't know what the Blarney Stone is, it's basically a tradition is that you're supposed to reach over and kiss it for good luck. I don't think kissing a rock is not my idea of fun, but you do the strangest things in Ireland. But anyway, so again, Iowa State wins over Kansas State. Iowa State was 22nd, Kansas State number 17. And of course, that was between two ranked teams. And of course, this weekend, of course, is the full college football season. And of course, the big one in the state of Tennessee is Tennessee will be hosting Syracuse in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. And of course, the last two coaches that coached preseason games in Atlanta got fired at the end of the season, Derek Dooley and Butch Jones. And let's hope this doesn't happen to this guy.
I really don't think there's a danger of that happening this time. They just extended him for one more year to 2030. So
they had to give him a little bit of a raise, and that sort of thing. So congratulations, Josh Heupel, for his raise and the efforts. He's won a lot of games, so basically he's awfully deserving of a raise. Of course, Tennessee ranked 24th. Syracuse is not ranked, and of course Tennessee's favored by 14 points in that game. Tennessee will be wearing the home orange. Some of the Syracuse people are complaining about Tennessee wearing the home orange because they are the Orangemen, Syracuse, and of course what they wear ain't exactly what you call orange.
Well, it's almost a Clemson orange.
Well, it's sort of like an orange with a looks like orange which has mold on it or something that.
You might say, we'll do it this way. You might say that Syracuse has orange, but Tennessee wears orange, according to Peyton Manning. So Tennessee orange is a lot different than orange.
Well, the thing is that it would be interesting if Syracuse and Tennessee came out both wearing home colors. They did a few years ago against North Carolina State in Atlanta, which I thought was real neat. And really, to be honest, right now, the only reason they made a lot of these teams wear these white uniforms because when in 1960s, black and white TVs outnumbered color TVs, and you really couldn't tell too much about what you saw on black and white TV. And according to they call it the Tennessee rule, and that's why they make the visiting teams wear white. Now I'd like to see Tennessee and Alabama in home jerseys playing each other again. Haven't seen that since 1970. But the thing about it is with Tennessee, they're breaking in a quarterback, Joey Aguilar, who's maybe he's not inexperienced, but he's
they're definitely breaking him in with a new offensive system. Heupel's is quite complex, but he's certainly not lacking in experience, as you mentioned, because he went from Appalachian State, or as football fans call it, Appy State.
Yeah.
He was there first, then transferred to UCLA, and this is be his last year of eligibility, and he's choosing to do it at Knoxville. So he's got experience. He's been a starter both places before he came to Knoxville, and he's going to be QB1 this year unless something were to happen as the season progresses. So he has the experience, he has the knowledge, but can he process quickly enough the field to keep up with Heupel's offense? And that is the question that Tennessee faithful and really college football faithful has a big question mark around that. Can he? I think he can. Will he? Well, it's going to depend on a lot of factors, but it is very possible that Tennessee could have a breakout year. I mean, they're pretty stacked at wide receiver. I mean, they did lose Brew McCoy and company, but Mike Matthews, he's there. Braylon Staley, he's there, and he's second year. They're predicted to be a second year breakout player. So it could be very interesting. The backfield, running backfield, Bishop, all those guys, they're coming. They're back. The transfer from Duke, what's his name? I can't think of it. It just left me. But anyway, they have good running backs. Can the Lions play up to par? That's the thing. And there must be something special going on in Knoxville because according to the Power Index, for the entire college football of 2025, Tennessee's ranked 8th in regards to Power Index. And that's over LSU, A&M, South Carolina, Florida, and all 4 of those teams have a better chance, according to the odds, to making the playoff and going to win the national championship. So Tennessee's got something special.
Yeah.
If they can gel together and play like they should be able to play, Tennessee might turn some heads this year.
Yeah, the thing is that, they're going to have one Tennessee player back, and you may not know this. And he will be an honorary captain, and he's a Vol legend. And I think you're familiar with his name, Al Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Al Wilson was the guy who basically he would get in there and he would scream and shout at his fellow players, "You're going to go in there and you're going to put out everything that you possibly can." And he was the guy that really made that defense hum. And he was the guy, you remember against Florida, he stripped the ball 3 times from Florida defenders, and he was named SEC Defensive Player of the Week. And so he was one of those guys who single-handedly probably in a way, got Tennessee that big win that got Tennessee on its way to the national title. Now, ironically, the last time Tennessee won the national title, the opening opponent was Syracuse at the Carrier Dome, and they had a new starting quarterback named T. Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever heard of him, and though he didn't light up the scoreboard with passes and all, he did well enough to allow Tennessee to win. He had the wheels for the shootouts, and he did the things. And then when Jamal Lewis got injured, they let T. Martin loose, and he was a devastation like he never seen before. And T. Martin, of course, forever remembered as the first black quarterback in SEC history to win a national championship for his school. So T. Martin, so Al Wilson will no doubt, he'll talk to that team and he will tell them, this is what we did in 1998. Don't say that you're a star. Take the no stars approach. If you do that, you can win big. And as a result, Tennessee won and went 13-0 and won the national title. And I think that's important. I think if that Josh Heupel, if I had Josh Heupel here, I'll tell your players, take the no stars approach. Everybody contributes.
I loved watching Al Wilson, number 27, on the defense, linebacker. And he's the last one that I remember that actually looked like a linebacker.
He did.
He had the big pads, the neck roll. I mean, he looked like a monster out there in the middle of the field, and he could cover the pass. He could blitz and run. You get the quarterback. He could stop the run. He had it all. Was drafted by the Broncos, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And played for them for several years. But Al Wilson was a stud. He was Tennessee legend.
He would be on the sidelines and he would be exhorting his team to go out there and make those plays. And that was that. He was the coach on the field as well as the player on the
You
field.
didn't go out there and just go through the motions. You went out there, and if he caught you slacking, he would pull you aside and tell you in some rather colorful words, so to
strong
speak.
language. You know, he's like Reggie White. Reggie White said, now there's a story about Reggie White. Reggie White saw a player not giving his all in practice.
Mm-hmm.
He was going about 3/4 speed. Coach Majors told Reggie, take care of us. Take care of it. Reggie went over there, picked the guy up, and the guy he picked up was fairly big, but Reggie was bigger, and he told the guy, if you ever go 3/4 speed in practice again, I will tear your head off. And he said it in very strong terms.
Yeah.
You can't put this on the air. Very strong terms. The guy sat there and they said the guy was a pretty tough nut himself. They said that he was so tough that he actually knocked a basketball player out the room without the courtesy to open the door. And he said like that. There are a lot of guys like that over the years in defense in Tennessee. Steve Kiner.
The thing about Reggie White, he almost came off like when he would talk, it's like a whisper.
Yeah.
Obviously they called him Minister of Defense. Mm-hmm. He was an exceptional end rusher, defensive tackle. Man, he was my favorite player growing up. Mm-hmm. And was a minister.
Yeah.
But there was a side of him that when he talked, you listened.
You listened.
And you didn't have a choice. And if you didn't listen, you were forced to listen. And he was definitely a leader on and off the field and gone way too soon. But, you need people like that on a football team to be the leader, to be the one to step forward and say no, to get the best out of people. You can't just rely on the coaches. You've got to rely on each other too. And he was good at that.
Steve Kiner was another defensive great. Played in the 1960s, and Steve the Mouth Kiner was one of the guys who, unfortunately, was responsible for Tennessee's blowout loss to Ole Miss in '69. And he said, well, you playing against Alabama, and Tennessee was just destroying Alabama on the field in '69. I mean, this was a Bear Bryant coach team that was absolutely being decimated by Tennessee so bad that the radio announcers for Alabama were talking about the airplanes going over the stadium rather than talking about the action itself. And they were taking the first team out after Tennessee was leading 34-0. This is the fourth quarter, and he turned and says, "Look at you, Alabama players! Look at you! You're disgracing that man." He quoted Coach Bryant. "You're disgracing. You ought to be ashamed of yourself." After the game, Coach Bryant went over to Kiner, put his arm around him, and talked to each other. And you know what Kiner told Bear Bryant? This was true. He said, "I thought there was some pride in wearing those red jerseys." That's what he said. And you know what it is? Bryant said Kiner was right. He said they had no pride in wearing those red jerseys. That's what Kiner was. That's how all his players. Hacksaw Reynolds. You know how you got Hacksaw Reynolds was one of those guys who if you hit him, he turned into an ogre in orange. He was that mean. You know why they called him Hacksaw Reynolds?
I have no idea.
His Tennessee team lost one year, so what he did, he cut his Jeep in half with a hacksaw.
Oh my goodness.
What did you do with the Jeep after? You junk it. You can't do what a Jeep is cut in half. And that was how he was one of those guys that would, before a game in pro football, he would dress up in a full football regalia walking to the stadium. He wouldn't be in suits in there like everybody else. He already dressed in a football team. That's what you got some guys who are very vicious and mean on defense, yet they're nice guys when they're not playing because they know how to turn it off. They know how to turn it off. And that's how it is. He said, he said Kiner once knocked one guy down, one football player down who got mad at him and approached him with a couple of these little scalpels that cuts off the tape around him. He said, "Put it down. Put down those scalpels." Bam! Guy went down. That tells you how it is. But anyway, we're going to get back to the subject of college football. Of course, Michigan got nailed hard by the NCAA. Of course, $20 million fine. They no-show calls for all the coaches. Coach Harbaugh 10 years, so he can't go back and coach college football for 10 years. And they did not have to give up their national championship, and they're not going to be banned from TV or bowls. So basically is that they got hit in the pocket, but nothing else, more or less.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's likely other teams that do that all the time. Mm-hmm. Michigan just got caught. And I'm not making excuses for them. Cheating is cheating, and you need to pay the price. Not saying that it wasn't merited, but all I'm saying is you're going to have to be that same way across the whole board. You can't let other teams do it and not punish them. But then again, how do you police that? I mean, because John Doe shows up at a ball game, memorizes the calls, and is able to tell you. I mean, how are you going to police that? I mean, anybody can do that. Yeah. But a lot of big games. Michigan's going to have their hands full this year. They are within the top 10 or so of potentially winning the national championship again this year. The favorites this year, obviously, is Ohio State, and followed by Texas with the same odds, really. Yeah. Friday is going to be a big game. Auburn opens with Baylor. That'll be good for them. See if Hugh Freeze can turn the ship around down there before he gets the big boot. Mm-hmm. But I think everybody in college football is looking at that 11 o'clock game on Saturday. No, I'm not talking about the Tennessee-Syracuse game, and I'm not talking about the Mississippi State-Southern Miss game. I'm talking about the Texas and Ohio State, number 1 versus number 3 in Columbus.
Yeah, of course, Ohio State wanted to move to prime time, and Texas said no. Mm-hmm. Okay, so SEC versus Big Ten. And, of course, another big news is that the SEC is going to 9 conference games starting next season. Now, the reason they're doing that is because the Big Ten has already done that, and some other conferences have already done that, and partially due to the fact they want to keep the rivalries intact. So basically, so this is how it goes: 3 permanent rivals, 3 rotating, 3 come down the line, 9. Okay, the 3 permanent opponents. Now, for Tennessee, you're likely going to have Tennessee, Alabama. That's going to be your one of your permanent opponents.
From what I'm seeing, that
everybody agrees that's going to be the permanent opponent. Okay, the second one will be Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Even though one pundit had Tennessee, South Carolina instead. Another one you had 3 or 4 teams named in there: Tennessee, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, Tennessee, Auburn, or Tennessee, Ole Miss. Now, I don't think is that Auburn is going to be in it, because really was that you look at the rivalries of how many games: Tennessee, Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. That they played the most rivalries games, over 100 games each. The rest are just like in the 50s and 60s and that sort of thing.
I think from what I see, it's pretty much everybody seems to be agreeing that it's going to be Alabama, Florida, Vanderbilt. And if that's the case, I mean, you can't have everybody as your rival. I understand that.
Yeah.
But you lose a lot when you lose Kentucky. You're going to have them
where they're going to play them every couple of years. They're going to rotate around to where they'll have like every few years. They'll come rotate around. I would say is that Florida. I just don't think. I would drop kick Tennessee, Florida. Really, Tennessee's got nothing really to gain by that. Tennessee, Kentucky, because really that's a rivalry. You have the beer barrel, and they're wanting to bring that back. And second of all is that Kentucky doesn't really have a so-called rival except Louisville, which is not an SEC rivalry. So I would say right now, looking at it this way, Tennessee will probably go and say, okay, we want to keep Tennessee out. We want to keep the Alabama game. We want to keep the Vanderbilt game because that's an in-state game. The I-40 series, the good old-fashioned hate, the battle for the hills, the Davy Crockett series would be another. It's interesting. Davy Crockett series would be another one. The Andy Jackson series, or what they want to call it, or the Mike Smith series, or whatever they want to call it. And then you would have, of course, because if you look at Tennessee, Kentucky, that's the biggest rivalry in basketball in the SEC is Tennessee and Kentucky. So you're going to have to do that. Now, of course, they will release the information on who will play who as quick. You're going to have Georgia, Florida. They're going to keep that. You're going to have Alabama, Auburn, the Iron Bowl, Mississippi State, Florida, Georgia. That's going to be South Carolina, probably Georgia. South Carolina, Georgia. That would like Arkansas, LSU, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Texas. Those are probably going to be those rivalry games you're going to have intact. Those are absolutely certain that you're going to have. So Vanderbilt's going to have Tennessee because they don't have any real rivals anywhere else. Maybe Kentucky. Kentucky's probably going to keep with Tennessee because Kentucky doesn't have any real rivals except maybe Vanderbilt. So how do you go about this? Does it add confusion? Now, what's going to happen is that you're going to have 3 non-conference games. Okay. They're going to require you to play in one of the Power 4 conferences, which would be Big 10, ACC, Big 12, AAC or whatever, or Pac-12 if they ever get back to powerhouse status. So you look at this. Tennessee's got Georgia Tech coming up in a couple of years. You got Tennessee State coming in as an opponent. You're going to have that sort of thing. So it's just how you look at it. The SEC may be expanding. Then what are you going to do? So North Carolina.
Well, they're not going to bring in one and not bring in 2.
No, they got to bring in 2 to balance
so
it. They have to
have it balanced. And North Carolina's wanting to come over. And, I mean, all fingers point to Clemson or Florida State. I don't think that's happening.
I don't think Florida's going to want Florida State in there as a conference member.
I don't think Florida State or Clemson is going to happen.
Now,
I think you're more likely probably going to see a Virginia Tech, a NC State, or a Duke come over.
A Wake Forest could be another.
With North Carolina.
Or Wake Forest could be in there.
It's possible.
Wake Forest is really too small, really.
Yeah.
Duke is sort of like, they have a few good years, then you sort of go into a little bit of slippage.
It'd be more apt to probably see an NC State, a Virginia Tech. One of those two is seemingly more likely to join.
You say the SEC would sort of like to have like 2 schools from the same state. So North Carolina State, Duke would be another. Clemson, South Carolina would not want Clemson in as a conference.
Well, they've knocked that for years. I mean, they've tried to kick around the idea of joining that, for several years, and South Carolina is not going to have it. Georgia Tech does not. Georgia doesn't want Georgia Tech to join. Florida doesn't want Florida State. So I mean, you're kind of at a loss there.
You would have Tulane would be considered to be.
Well, they were in the part of the original.
They were along with Georgia Tech, and of course Tulane left because they basically just couldn't win in the SEC anymore, and they had LSU up the road. So that'd be an interesting thing. So again, Central Florida would be considerable. Would be attractive.
While we're bouncing around, we were talking about moving. Teams, and it kind of got me thinking about the schedule. We mentioned, the big game with Tennessee. I mean, the big game with Texas and Ohio State. Alabama plays Florida State.
That's an interesting thing.
LSU has Clemson, so we're mentioning those 2 teams. Those are big games to kick off the season with. Alabama, Florida State, LSU, Clemson. So one's at 11 o'clock, one's at 2:30, and the one's at 6. So my TV is going to be on football all day long.
You look at LSU and Clemson. What do they have in common?
Well, their dislike of Alabama.
No, not that. No, you don't like LSU. Their stadiums are known as Death Valley.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of that sort of thing.
Well, I don't think. I mean, one thing that LSU does have that they could kind of boister about is they were the first to set off the seismographs across campus.
Yeah, the infamous earthquake
Tennessee has
game.
done that too, but LSU was the first to do that. And so they could thump their chest a little bit and say, well, we're the real Death Valley. But Clemson does have the Rock from Death Valley.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one's got the memorabilia, one's got the history as far as the being the loudness. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting season for LSU. If Brian Kelly doesn't do something this year, which they're expecting him to do fairly well this year and make the playoff, but it's still early. But if he doesn't, it's likely that he's out. And I read an article, and the top replacement should LSU part ways with Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
The top replacement.
It's Nick Saban.
No, John Gruden.
Oh Lord, John
Gruden just spoke with the Georgia football team and went on record that said he would love to get back into coaching, and he would absolutely love to coach in the SEC.
Well,
Now we know Gruden has a history of Tennessee. We know he was rumored to come before when the Heupel.
Yeah, well, he said.
But he would be a good fit at LSU.
I probably would.
And I think he would do well at LSU, honestly. He's a good recruiter, good coach, and they would certainly be upgrading. Brian Kelly's a decent coach, but they would certainly be upgrading if they would get John Gruden. I mean, again, that's just a rumor, and that's just speculation, but it is very, very possible that could be an offer should Brian Kelly be dismissed from his position at LSU. And I would be heartbroken that he's not wearing orange on Saturday. But, it is what it is. I'm happy with Heupel. We'll see what he's going to do with us.
There are a couple of stories about LSU football. They had some people who were handling it wanted to let Mike the Tiger out of his cage. Mike Tiger.
Oh,
big live tiger.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, somebody either the NCAA or the SEC got word of it, and it told him, says, you do that, and you will forfeit the season.
Mm-hmm.
Plan over. Yeah. Another one was in 1973. They were playing Ole Miss, and they're at Tiger Stadium. Okay, and LSU was behind Ole Miss. Was trailing Ole Miss, and it had about 4 seconds to go, 4 or 5 seconds to go. They threw a pass incomplete. That clock did not move. Well, either somebody didn't notice it, or if they did, the referees chose not to say anything. They threw it again and won the game. Now, there ain't no way in the world. There's no way you're going to do 2 plays in 4 seconds, which indicates the clock operator was slow, was not paying attention to what he was doing.
We're playing in Baton Rouge.
Yeah,
right?
Playing in Baton Rouge, and so someone put some wiseacre put a sign out at the Louisiana state line between the Mississippi and LSU. I said, and Welcome to Louisiana. Please set your watch back 4 seconds. That tells you how it is. But college football, of course, is so different. Neyland Stadium. If you go to the game, don't pay cash. They will not take cash at any venue inside Neyland Stadium. That means basically you can't get snacks, you can't get drinks, you can't get beer.
Swap that card. Swipe the card, and because it's cashless. Mm-hmm. And it goes to the good old days where you can actually buy something with cash. Yeah, really.
It really is sort of thing. And
cash is just as good as money, according to Yogi Berra, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah, it's as good as malpurisms. Malpurisms. What is Yogi Berra? He used to say, and you said about Yogi Berra, the cartoon character.
Yeah.
He considered suing, to stop it when he realizes, hey, I said we have the same name. My real name's Lawrence. That's how he was, Yogi Berra. But that sort of thing, and but college football, of course, this starts the full spring this Friday and goes through Monday, Labor Day weekend. So you have plenty of time to tune in your TV and watch all these games on TV and on the radio. Of course, Tennessee starts a new era with Mike Keith as the as the voice of the Vols, and of course Ramon Foster will be the new color man as well for the Volunteers. So obviously Mike Keith, a well-known element here, and I think he will do fine. So of course if they pick me and you.
3 hours is on Friday nights is enough with you, and the hour
six hours on Saturday. 6 hours
so.
will be on Saturday.
No, man, I don't know if I handle it or
but
not.
we'd be probably paid better. But anyway, it'll be nice. I mean, it would be nice to be sitting up there about 10,000 feet above the in the nosebleed section.
Sure.
In the Vol Network and all that would be very interesting.
You would argue with the spotters about like you'd argue with me of what number did what and how many yards they gained, and then you hear it over the loudspeaker. Would have to say, well, no, okay, that Bradley was right. I don't know if you could wash that taste out of your mouth or not, saying those words.
I said, who are these two crazy people? Bring back John Ward! But anyway, I think is that, as they say here, as the song says, welcome to the jungle.
Uh-huh.
And that's what's going to happen Friday night, and I'm sure that the cowbells will be out in Forest Bradley. I know you love those cowbells, and I know I'll bring mine Friday night, my favorite cowbell.
Yeah, and
that
I'll
sort of
take
thing.
it. I'll steal it.
So again, start Friday night college football as well as high school football, and then some college football on Saturday, and then pro football the next Sunday afterwards.
Okay. We can't end the show without reminding everybody how sad I am that the Braves are probably not going to mix.
Oh, you poor baby!
The Braves are just, bless their heart, they'll do really well, then they'll do really bad again. And quite frankly, they're 11 games back in the wild card, and with the way they're playing, they're not going to make up any ground. And as bad as it is, and as bad as I hate to admit it, the Phillies are really probably going to be the team to beat. Toronto's good, Detroit's good, Philadelphia's good, and the Brewers are knocking everybody's socks off. The Dodgers, though, are still the favorite to win the series, but I don't think I'm going to have to worry about wearing no Yankee or Mets hats that you keep throwing. I'm not going to anyway.
Matter of fact, they came in the mail the other day. It's got your name on the side, personalized. Bradley's the greatest fan of the Yankees.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can hear it now. You will never see a Yankees or Mets hat on my head. Not going to happen. I just can't do it. And so for some reason I can't wear LSU or Florida. Just can't do it. I would regurgitate everything that I've ate in the last 30 years. It would make me that sick. Like it would make me that sick. I couldn't do it.
My sister is a Gator fan.
Bless her heart.
And I say to her, if you had to pick a team, why couldn't you pick the team I could respect, like Alabama? I said, Alabama, and she's a Florida Gator fan, and she rubs it in every time with her car. She's got decked out in Florida Gator regalia and all that. And again, there's as I used to say, there's no accounting for taste. Sometimes it happens. You get a family member's a little off. Sort of thing.
Well, we're talking baseball as far as the Braves and everything's concerned. The Braves are not doing as good as they would hope this year, but it is that late in the season that people are starting to either potentially clinch or potentially clinch a wild card or a playoff berth. Unfortunately, the Colorado Rockies have clinched on the other end of that.
Yep.
They are excluded completely from the playoff race, as they have only won 38 games this year so far. They're 37.5 games out of first place, and they are 33 games out of even being thought about in the wild card. And to tell you how dire that is, the Arizona Diamondbacks are above them in the division, and they're only 12 games back. The Washington Nationals are above them in the wild card, and they are 16 games back. So Colorado, they are having a rebuilding year, and it could be they're mentioning bringing in a couple of new teams to the Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Nashville is a possibility. as is New Orleans, as is Raleigh. A lot of people are banking on Nashville being one of them. And
it would be
another
a centralized location. It would be
and another team another place was Portland, Oregon. Those are kind of the top four: New Orleans, Nashville, or Nashville, Portland, New Orleans, and Raleigh in that order. Nashville could get an expansion team, and if they do that, again they'll build evenly. Somebody else will be, they'll have two teams come, and they'll likely redraw the divisions. You'll have an East, Central, West, and the South, in American League and National League, with four teams likely in each division, or 4 or 5 teams. So it could be interesting to see what they do. If Nashville gets the team, even though they're local, I'm probably still going to be chopping because I'm a Braves fan. That's what I was raised on.
Well, the thing is that another city, which for years have been wanting a Major League Baseball team, actually built a stadium to Major League standards, was Buffalo. Mm-hmm. They have a minor league team which uses that stadium. It's a large stadium for a minor league. So basically, it's about 40,000 seats. So basically, they got the facilities already. But the problem is that somehow they don't do it. I used to have a story about Charlie Finley, who owned the Oakland A's. He wanted to have an NFL team in Birmingham, mm-hmm. and he wanted Bear Bryant to coach it. And Bear Bryant says, Finley's eyes are sometimes bigger than his stomach. They said there's no way in the world the NFL is going to let him in and have a team in there, right? Because he was too much of a maverick for the NFL to stomach. So that was Bear Bryant. He knew Charlie Finley, and he knew that the guy was a wild card, and there's no way in the world they're going to let him in there and ruffle feathers as an NFL team. But you look at it this way. I saw a ticket on sale auction, 1966, the first year the Braves were in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Okay, how much was admission to a Braves game?
Probably $3.
$15. Then of course they were played at Old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, mm-hmm. which was both used for football and baseball for the Falcons as well as the Peach Bowl. And they put it on auction. It fetched $125,000. So it was a fairly good ticket, good price. $15 to go see a Major League Baseball game.
Now a hot dog would cost you $15.
That's what gets me is that if I go to a Tennessee game, I'm going to go someplace off campus to get a meal, because I ain't no way I'm paying those high prices. Yeah. It's like I made a mistake going to a Chick-fil-A on campus, and if you like petrified chicken, that's your business. But
hey, that's God's chicken, man.
Yeah, God's chicken. What did he do to the chicken? That sort of thing. But anyway, of course, pro football coming up, and of course, a little bit of news out of Tampa Bay. Apparently, Deion Sanders' son may have just played himself out of a roster spot after he took a swung at a Buffalo football player.
Very possible.
And basically, they pretty much told him, "Hey, you're suspended."
Yeah.
And the Tampa Bay coach said, "We do not tolerate this type of nonsense." One report said that he has already been dropped. One report say that he is basically being reevaluated.
Well, the good news is he played in the preseason, so if he's anything like Shadur, they're probably going to retire his jersey, number 28, down there.
Yeah, well, I got news for you. They got to get down to 53 players before the game. So basically, if you're not signed as a sure shot draftable agent, you better hope to God that you put out some great numbers here. Also, Hendon Hooker has been released by the Detroit Lions, so he's a free agent.
And I don't think that was. I mean, if you look at the Detroit Lions coach and front office, they class acts across the board, and I don't think they saw Hooker starting over Goff. Mm-hmm. And I understand that. Goff is the guy they banked on. He's the guy they wanted. He's the guy they got. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they released Hendon Hooker because of his lack of ability. I honestly do believe, and the coach has went on record to say this, Hendon is too good to be a second stringer. I think they released him because of his good ability that he can be a starter somewhere else.
Yeah.
So they gave him a chance to go and to be that quarterback for the team that wants a good leader, and I really do believe that he will succeed. I think if he gets a shot, if he gets somewhere that they'll give him a shot and let him learn and step in and play. Hendon's a good ball player.
Yeah.
I really do believe he'll do well, and I think that's more the reason why they let him go. Again, not because of his lack of ability, but because they wanted to give him a chance to shine somewhere else.
I think if Hendon Hooker had not been injured in the South Carolina game, he would have won the Heisman.
Very possible.
He was that good. I mean, he was that good. Finishing fifth, people disappointed there and said, well, but fifth is not a bad way to end up.
No.
So, like I said, of course, Joe Milton is at Dallas. He's impressing people there. Again,
He might get the starting spot over Dak Prescott.
He probably will.
Dallas faithful have lost a little bit of patience with Dak.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
But, like I said, of course, the pro football season starts the week after Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you'll be here. Okay, well, this is going to wrap it up for us here. And, of course, we are glad that you with us. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in throughout the past couple of years here. And we, of course, will be back. And I know that some people might consider that to be a threat. But we will be back here next time. Bradley, you got some final words you want to say? And I
always do, Mike. Can't close a show without saying go Blue, go Braves, bless their heart, and go Big Orange.
All right, like I said, again, Friday night, Bledsoe County's first home game opener will be against the Whitwell Tigers. That game will be at 7 o'clock. We'll have pregame hopefully at 6:30 p.m. here on WAT AM 1110 Pikeville, Tennessee. We hope that you will join us for that as well. And then next time we'll be back, we'll talk more about the high school football season as well as the college football season, which will be under full swing by then. So say bid you farewell, and we will see you next time here on the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on WAT AM 1110 Pikeville, Tennessee, and Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18. Good night. Good day, everybody.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative in the Sequatchie Valley.